Under the Culture Department, the ministry would like to announce that in collaboration with the Ministry of TIAT, we recently held meetings with the board members of the St. Martin Carnival Development Foundation, SCDF. This was held last Friday after several brainstorming issues between our ministries, as well as all of the ministries that are actually part and parcel of Carnival being able to go off without a hitch over the past few years. Many only look at the budget line on the budget and say, oh, that's all government is giving. But if we sit down and analyze the amount of overtime that the police has to pay to their officers to be able to do all of the extra work, all of the VROMI workers that also work in terms of securing roads, barring roads. Every time there's a show in the night, you see them out there, and you never stop to wonder that this is also a cost to government. So you're not seeing it on the budget line, but we are contributing. Some of the discussion that we held last week centered around the points of concerns and bottlenecks of the SCDF, as well as the points of concern of government as it pertains to our largest cultural festival, Carnival. Some of the concern of our ministry were that the impact of Carnival on education and youth. As such, participants therein were the inspectorate as well as the youth department in terms of what we see as a trend over the years during and leading up to Carnival time. The growth of youth alcohol as well as other drug consumption, but mainly alcohol during this time. The low school attendance during this time, as well as the safety during the public jump-ups and parades. One of the issues that I brought forward was actually having so many youth in events or parents, and the SCDF, says they cannot parent for the people of St. Martin. Some of the events organized are solely adult-oriented activities, and as such, in the coming weeks, we will have several more meetings and then host a joint press conference in order to inform the public of the type of changes we expect to see from 2017 onwards in terms of what do we really want to call our culture on St. Martin in terms of Carnival. And then the impact of the cultural aspect as such was also discussed. Many within the community, we've taken note of the public's dissension of the sentiment that our culture is rapidly being phased out of the largest cultural celebration. There was also the point that we feel our local culture should be more displayed and showcased during the Carnival events, that the lyrical content and the way of dance should be safeguarded and maintained. So we must determine what we will allow here on St. Martin, and the showcasing and displaying of our cultural way as it pertains to our nation. So in terms of what is the image of St. Martin that we want to project out there. The Ministry of TIAT also had some concerns in terms of cultural tourism, the importance of marketing our largest festival in the most productive way, ensuring safety to participants, because we believe that over the years, Carnival continues to grow because we've maintained safety during these festivities if you compare us with many of the other Caribbean countries around the region. And the TIAT was also concerned that we should promote our island, St. Martin, and all that we have to offer, so not just a particular style or culture. The SCDF also brought forward that they were very concerned about not having enough financing to be able to cover the entire budget and to ensure that a wonderful Carnival and safe Carnival is executed. So we will continue to brainstorm. Some of the discussions we have may not affect this year's Carnival, but we are looking forward to the long-term plans, including TIAT, marketing and promotion, justice, police, and ensuring public safety and order, VROMI, roadworks, and other VSR, the vending permits, the licensing, so the safety of food, etc. That all is done right now through VSR. Finance, broad-based financial assistance, and ECYS, ensuring that the cultural, educational, and youth aspects are maintained and promoted in a positive manner. So I mentioned 6 different ministries there, and I'm hoping that the general public gets that feel of it's not just a marketing issue. It's not just a culture issue. It's a St. Martin issue. And so I look forward to us continuing to brainstorm. That first meeting in such a big setting was a very positive one. All hands seem to be on deck and flying in the same direction. And we look forward to Carnival 217 being safe, being productive, and being an activity that promotes our culture in a positive manner. The Division of Study Financing has submitted the statistics as to the study financing requests that have come in. The date, of course, was closed on the 16th of January, and the division has done their due diligence in preparing the documents for the committee to peruse, which will happen next week. So there were 164 applications received, with varying places of study as usual within the Caribbean, the Dutch Caribbean, the Netherlands, right here in St. Martin, of course, and the larger number being to the United States. The schools, all of the high schools, did submit, did have students requesting study financing, with the larger group coming from the St. Dominic High, the Milton Peters College, HAVO, and followed closely behind by the IB program of St. Dominic High and the CXC at the St. Martin Academy, CXC CSEC at the St. Martin Academy. So we see quite some responses from the different school types. Also, several were received from students who have already finished school and maybe took a break, about 76. From that, 29 from students already attending college, probably on their own pockets, and from foreign high schools 2, and for SBO, MBO, also 3. The areas of study remain, the top 10 I would like to mention were the most coming in with computer science, ICT, or game design, 21 requests, biomedical sciences, pre-med 17, human resource management 16, business management 14, psychology 12, hospitality and tourism management a mere 8. So that seems a bit strange to me. Elementary education only 7, nursing only 7, social and sociology, social worker, pedagogic worker only 7, electronic, technical engineering only 8, and all of the rest then fell. These were the top 10. So all of the other possibilities, and you can find those on our website, what the priority areas were in terms of what students could apply for. Also noteworthy were that 29 of the applicants were applying with a GED diploma, and after March 1st, no changes. So today, no changes can be made in the applications. So most of the information that had been lacking from January should have been finalized and submitted by today, so that next week the committee would have a full dossier to revise. So I'm just updating that this is what is the case right now where study financing is concerned. In other good news that is generally, I think, good for the public to know is that the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports is in complete support of the SXM DOOT project, that several schools, 1 or 2 on their own, had registered for the project, but as a ministry, we believed it was important to lead by example, and we have embarked on a project for the public schools. 3 were identified to do a mural, a positive mural depicting one of the themes such as peace, love, unity, tolerance. I have had the experience back when I was actually in management course for as a school manager, that our colleagues, we were all across the board in this, and the St. Martin Academy Peace Is Foundation assisted the St. Martin Academy with that peace sign that is in front of the school in an effort to diminish the amount of fights that used to happen there, and to diminish the amount of graffiti that used to be painted on the school wall. And I must say, over the several years, this has been more than 4 years ago, or even 5, that I've never seen that piece of artwork defaced, that our youth and our St. Martin people do respect art. And so as a way to not just brighten up a school, but to have the students, staff, the community, the teachers be involved in a project together to promote something positive, we are currently working together with the schools to have a theme. We have gotten artists, established artists on St. Martin to assist the schools in creating a mural that will be depicting something positive for SXM Dut. This will take place on the 10th and 11th of March upcoming, but of course when you're doing a mural there's always preliminary work, so any volunteers that would like to assist in the preparation of the wall, etc., can contact the cabinet, Ms. Rolika Roach, and the 3 schools that we are looking at are, I'm jumping all over the place, the Marie Genevieve de Weaver, the Ruby La Vega, and the Leonard Connor schools. So the other public schools we hope to continue with in the course of the year. But just as a ministry, we collaborated, many ministry workers collaborated when we did the repainting of both SMVTS in South Reward and the Orania School. I am looking first and foremost within the ministry for volunteers, but of course the general public is welcome to go online, register to be a volunteer to assist us in creating a strong statement which we hope the school would be able to embody in its actions on a day-to-day basis and therefore bring us into a more positive atmosphere. So hopefully ending on a good note, in order to contact the cabinet, do dial 520-0285. And with that, my prepared statements for today, and await any further questions. Thank you.
Minister Boseman, in your opening statement, you addressed the issue of the policy and the entry of people on St. Martin. Can you tell me, if I didn't hear it correctly, the policy that was in place, has it been revised? And if so, when?
No, the policy that was in place has been now put on paper in a clear fashion, because it seems that it was being misinterpreted by the different parties. The policy was taken from different circulars from the time of the Netherlands Antilles. Okay, and that is what was being used. So there may have been, let's say, habits that were created. I don't know exactly, but they could be that habits were created, or certain things that were allowed. But the policy itself, as written here, okay, is not a new policy that is put in place. It's documenting exactly what the policy as existing should be interpreted. So it's more detailed than anything that was put on paper before. Okay, it's taken from all of those documents, and this is the situation that we have. I don't see it as a new policy.
Thank you for the explanation. Minister Gibson, a couple of weeks ago, and I think if it was 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, I asked you for a status update on the debt that the monies that St. Martin is owed or supposed to collect. Can you give us an update on that?
Certainly. Good morning. Are you referring specifically to the division of the assets of the Netherlands Antilles and where that stands? Yes. The situation is still the same. There were meetings, like I mentioned to you the last time, with representatives of Holland, and they were fast-tracking the issue in terms of that all of the objections that were raised and problems that were put on the table that delayed these things, they were resolved according to the information I received, specifically the question of Holland having to pay for the anyway, monies that Holland had to pay, going back to the Netherlands Antilles for the smaller islands, that Holland did not want to pay. That was resolved. So there were no further impediments. Based on that, it's my expectation that the money should be coming here quite shortly.
Thank you for that update. I going to pose a question to you because I know you traveled, I believe, last week to Aruba with the Prime Minister, and there was supposed to be a meeting with the Minister Plastek concerning the so-called integrity chamber. Is there any information that you can share with the public of St. Martin regarding this integrity chamber, since Parliament had adopted a motion which the Council of Ministers also adopt?
Well, we had discussion with the with Mr. Plasterk, the representative of the Kingdom government, in which we outlined our position. Mr. Plasterk outlined his position, and parties decided that they're going to continue to talk. And I think that's what Mr. Plasterk reported to the press after that meeting, and that's what we reported also, that we're continuing to talk about the problem.
Mr. Andrew Dick of the Daily Herald.
Yeah, Minister Gibson, morning to the rest of the ministers. In January, you mentioned that the Pearl of China, the project, was still in tracks in March. Today's the 1st of March. Give us an update on that, please.
Well, first I need to make clear, because somehow there is a perception out there, not only by you, but also by members of Parliament, that the Minister of Finance is the one who is in charge of development of projects on the island. I want to say up front, that's not the case. The Minister of Finance has announced that this project was coming and was very, very happy with it, given the impact it would have on GDP, given the impact it would have on government finances in general. But it is not a Minister of Finance who's tracking day to day, step by step, how this project is being developed. What I can tell you, though, I happen to know that the excavation permit has been signed off by the minister in charge, as well as a permit for the retaining wall. And what I can tell you, that they purchase a piece of property, have designed plans to build a structure there, and it appears that there is some conflicts in terms of the existing planning permit that was there, that has to be dealt with by the Department of VROMI together with the developer, to see how adjustments can be made to accommodate what they want to do, and that is causing some delay. That is, as far as I know, where the project stands, but I'm happy to report that the excavation permit has been signed off on, as well as a retaining wall, so there's a start. And from some point of view, you could say, well, we had said in March they were going to start. Well, we're on track for that.
Thank you, Minister. Minister Bosman, the Bus Association have been trying to get in contact with your office for quite some time. It's concerning some new policies that they want to introduce for color coding for the buses. I don't know if there is any meeting set with the Bus Association anytime soon.
No, and I'm not aware of that, so I would check with the cabinet to find out exactly what is that, and we'd be happy to set a meeting to talk to them.
Thank you. Minister Emmanuel, we see the roads, the pavings are on track. Where is the next road that is going to get paved? When?
Well, it's not a matter of when and where the next road. It is sitting down with the ministry and going over the priority roads. And we are looking at a number of priority roads right now. For example, I know we will be going into Union Farm. As we speak, the preliminary works for that is started right now, because that road is in a deplorable condition. And we are also looking at a number of dirt roads. But as I speak right now, we only had a specific amount of asphalt that has been depleted. So what will be done right now on a number of different roads is concrete, because we still have some concrete. So it's just a matter of identifying the priority roads, and we'll be tackling them this coming weekend after.
Thank you. We now move over to Alita Singh of the Daily Herald.
Thank you, Giselle. Good morning, ministers. Minister Bosman or Minister Gibson, going back to the meeting with Dutch Minister Plasterk, Minister Gibson just mentioned that the decision is to continue to talk. What then happens now with the situation with the quartermaster? So the quartermaster be back in St. Martin to speak to civil servants, etc., to set up. Does the letter go away, or do we start to cooperate, or it's just that the quartermaster will stop working? What is the status?
Who do you want to?
Whichever one can answer, because you sent the letter and
Okay.
Mr. Gibson went to the meeting.
As far as the letter is concerned, the letter basically said, look, there is a problem. The two ministers involved are still discussing the problem. So there is no need to come and talk in what capacity, talk about what. Let us wait until the ministers resolve the issue, and then we will know better. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as that issue has not yet been resolved, as long as the ministers are still talking, then the letter remain in force. I haven't had the opportunity to sit with the Prime Minister yet, but as soon as he gets back, we will have that chat. But up to today, yes, that is what I would say.
Just to go back also on the issue with the immigration regulation, just for a bit more clarity, this is simply putting the rules on paper, so everybody understands what they are, but the implementation or going to the letter of what is in that policy will not be done now, but sorted out in the low season. I'm just trying to understand, because you spoke both ways. First you said that you was putting it on paper, and then a little later in your discussion you talk about that by the end of the season it will be 90 days and so on. So I'm just trying to understand what the situation is a bit clearer.
Okay. There are two things. First, recently the border control has been moved and it's put back by the police. Okay. In carrying out their tasks, they realized that certain things were not happening according to the laws and the policies that were in place. Okay. In doing that, to go and change those things, and I think that started. The first cry was where I think crew members were issued only 48 hours or something, and then a cry was made from those involved, and we got together to see exactly what the situation was, and there is where parties decided. You cannot come with new rules and regulations, especially making drastic changes. This is what the stakeholders said in the middle of the season, because the vessels and the agents have already communicated to their vessels exactly what the situation is. We said, okay, good. However, it should be clear, though, whatever the present rules are, it should be clear what they are and how they're implemented. That is what we did. We documented the present rules and how they should be implemented. That's one. Secondly, we said then, but there is a need to review the process. And in reviewing the process, we would do that during the off-season. Doing that during the off-season would give us time to discuss with all stakeholders, come up with whatever, if there are changes need to be made in the regulations, and if the changes are made, to give the stakeholders, and in this case the agents, enough time to notify their clients so that for the new season, in a timely fashion, everyone would know what it is. So what is here now is documenting the regulations as we understand them to be and how they should be implemented, which would be valid until the end of this season. And in the off-season, we will start the further discussions if updating or changes need to take place.
Thank you very much. Minister Gibson, the budget, of course, you're working on 2018 at the moment. With the passing of the 2017 budget, of course, you could have asked the CFT for a loan, being able to get permission to access loans to carry out government projects on the capital expenditure budget. Have you done that as yet, and what has been the reaction?
Yes, the procedure is that once your budget is approved, in your budget, you have identified the monies that you want to have for capital expenditures for the year 2017. So that's specified in the budget. By approving the budget, basically you are qualifying to be able to borrow money to execute those capital expenditures specified in the budget. The CFC has the right, if you ask for $10, to say no, they would only approve $5, and that process, once the Council of Ministers in The Hague ratifies the budget, CFT will be in a position to express itself in terms of the capital expenditures that we have projected in the budget. It is my expectation, based on what has been signaled, that they most probably would approve up to 30 million guilders in capital expenditures for 2017. But again, that is not cast in stone as yet, and there'll be question marks as to why, because the CFT law is quite clear as to where our limitations are, and the limitations according to CFT law is the interest norm that's in the CFT law. And the law is good for one, it should be good for all.
Thank you, Alita. We now move over to the second round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Giselle. I want to ask this question, but either the Minister of Justice or the Minister of Finance can answer the question depending who has more information. During the last election, there were a number of civil servants that were elected to Parliament, and during this last election, they were no longer re-elected. These people were civil servants, and they were supposed to return to the job. A lot of them, I understood, took a 1-year leave of absence. How much money is government paying out to these people who refuse to come back to work right away? And what amount of civil servants do we really have staying home for a year when they can come back to work?
Well, there is a contradiction in the question. If you take a leave of absence, and in theory that means you don't get paid for the duration of the leave of absence. So there is no question that will come up how much are these people being paid. There are civil servants who gets certain governmental positions, and once that position ends, they retain the right to return to the position they had before. Some make use of that opportunity, some don't, and some, as you say, take a leave of absence. There is no specifics right now, and I think it's the Prime Minister who would have the details on that, because it's his department. I don't have at this point in time, and I'm sure the Minister of Justice does not have either. But it's, so I cannot answer the question that you pose, taking consideration that contradiction that I point out as far as the premise of your question is concerned, that a leave of absence is, in theory, without pay.